All right, Year 12, I'm going to go through the work for assessment task 3 on creating a spreadsheet for our binomial distributions. Now, I'm only going to do these separately, so the first one's just going to be doing question 1, and because I don't want to do it for you, I'm going to be using different numbers. So in here, all this, I'm going to do all the same questions, but I'm going to do the probability of I'll do 200 tosses instead of 100, and I'll use the same probability because it's easy for a head. So the first thing, in cell F1, so that's this one here, enter 100 for the number of trials. Okay, so I'm going to type in 100, and here I'm going to write a probability of 0.5. I'm going to do, remember what we're doing here is we're doing a Bernoulli trial, which means the chance of getting something or not getting it. In this case, the chance of tossing a coin, getting a head is 0.5, and the chance of getting, and the number of times we're going to repeat this experiment or do these trials is 100. So here, I'm going to write number of trials, because that's the second part. By the way, over here, I have all the information. So in cell 1, enter 100 and 0.5 for the probability of attaining a head, suitable labels in E1 and E2. So the number of trials, and in E2, the probability, I'm just going to use brackets, and tossing a coin and getting a head. There we go. Now, it then says, go over to A0, and I reckon that's wrong. I think they need A1, and I'm going to type in 0. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in equals, and I'm going to click the cell above and add 1. And that's just going to add 1 to every to the cell above. So 0 plus 1 should give me 1. And then I'm going to copy that. And you can just do that by the copy or Control C. So I copy that, and then I'm going to select here and then all the way down to 101. And I'm going to paste, and I can go Command V, or I can just do paste. And now I've got all the numbers from 0 to 100, and they're all typed in, and because they're all using a formula. So there's so this over here on it should say A1 to A101. Now, what we're going to do now is create the binomial distribution for this. So what are we doing here? Well, it's going to, imagine if we had this. This is A plus B to the power of 100. So so if you think of Pascal's triangle, we're going to have 1, then we're going to have 100C1, and 100C1 is just 100. And then we're going to have 100C2 and 100C3 all the way down. So I'm just going to type in here. What do I have to type in? Equals binomial. I only need binom. And then I go dot dist. And then I'm going to add a bracket. And then when I put a $sign in to reference a string, it references a particular cell. So that's going to be A1. And then I'm going to have comma. I'm going to string F string or $sign 1, comma, F string F string 2. So you can see it selecting those cells as I go along. And then I'm going to have else false, which is going to give me the other one. And what that does, that's calculated all the binomial distribution probability for that. It's asking me if I want to autofill. If you don't get autofill, you just copy that. But I'm going to go autofill. And as you can see here, I'm going to just make this a little bit bigger. These first couple 0. Oh, hold on. I put a number of trials as 100. I said I was going to use 200. So I better fix that because otherwise yours will be exactly like it isn't. So I'll be doing the assignment for you. And then I'm just going to go here. Sorry. I'm going to go here, select here and here, and I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go from here. I have to go down to 201, and I'm going to paste that. And now it's done 200. So my number of trials is now 200. Now you'll note that for the first early trials, the probability, all right, so this is a probability of tossing a coin 100 times and getting 0 heads. 0 heads. Imagine that. Imagine tossing a coin 100 times, you get 0 heads. Well, the probability is going to be very close to 0. In fact, the probability of getting 55 heads is pretty close to 0. Even 56 heads is pretty close to 0. Most of the probabilities are going to be around, because it's a 50-50 chance, how many would you expect out of a 200? You'd expect about 100. So most of the probabilities are going to be between somewhere between 100, either side of 100. Okay, so what have we done now? So we've done that, and we've filled down. Now it's asking us some questions. What's the probability of obtaining things? So what I want you to do in yours, now remember, I've got 200. You've got 100. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to type in here. And I'm going to, what is the probability of obtaining between 30 and 50? Now I'm going to double all these because I'm doing 200. So I've got the probability between 60 and 110 heads inclusive. So I'm going to go, probability. I'm just going to use P. But I get between 50, so I want 60 x to 110. And what I do is I go, well, I'm just going to find the sum because these are the probabilities. I'm going to grab that one because that now I've just summed. Look up here. You can see I've summed all of them. And when I sum all the probabilities together, it should equal 1. But I don't want the sum from B1 to B201. I want from 60. So where was 60? So 60 is B61. So I'm going to type in here 61. And then here, well, this is going to be 111. And if I click on that, so there's 93% chance that I'm going to get that. And let's look if it's the right one. It should be shaded now that I've clicked on it. There you can see 110. These are all the probabilities and 60. So that's pretty easy. Over here, I think I forgot to do the probability. So, here you go. I forgot E. What's the probability of at least 60 heads? So I'm going to do the probability of at least, probability of at least, I'm going to double it, 120 heads. Well, for me to get 120 heads, that means I have to have 120 or more. So again, I'm just going to go equals sum. And again, I'm just going to choose the B1 to B201. And again, that gives me a probability of 1. But this time, I'm going to start at 120, which means I'm going to need 121 because my count started at 1 and I've got 0 in the first one. And I'm just going to go up and make sure I've got the right area for this. Okay, so there's 120. That's 121 heads, 122, 123, all the way down to there. And the probability of that, of at least 120, it's not even 1%. It's 0.0028. All right, so I'm just going to make this bigger so I can... see that 120 hertz. Now I need the mode. So the mode is going to be the score with the highest probability. All right? It's going to be the top of it. Now, because this is a 50-50 chance, it's going to be right in the middle. But I'm just going to go max. I'm going to go equals max, maximum value in the numerical data set. And I want B1 to be, I want B1 to be 201. I don't want that 202. And it's telling me it's this point 0.0563. So I'm going to go up and look for that, 0.0563. And there it is. And I'm just going to highlight that because that's my mode. I just have to make this a bit bigger. So I'm just going to go there. And I'll highlight that in yellow. There's my mode. And it's 100. So the mode is actually 100. The maximum probability, so maybe I should write mode here, and that's 50, and I've got it from the table, and this is the max prob. And, oops, the mode was actually 100, not 50. And there we go. Now, so that's all you're doing. Now, what else did the questions ask? So find the smallest integer that gives me 50% of the data. Well, 50% of the data, and they want you to go from 50 to plus a number, 50 minus a number, plus or minus a number. So for my probability equal to 50% around my halfway mark, which is 100. So I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to go sum, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with it. And again, I'm going to just start B, and I'm going to go B. I'll just click that, and it'll give it to me. And then I'll go B, I'll go in there, and I'll change it now. So can you see I'm changing these numbers now? So I want somewhere between 100. So I don't know, I'll go 80. So it's 81, that's 20 below. And it's got to be the same number. So remember, it's 101 plus 20, so 121. That's 99%. So I'm going to go less now. So I'm going to go B, instead of 81, I'll go 91. And I'll go 10 above and 10 below. 86, still too big. So I'll go 5. So 5 below 101 is 96. And I'll go 106. Well, there's 56%. So I'm getting close. Now remember, it has to be a whole integer because I can't throw half a head. So that's between 95 and 105 heads. I'm pretty sure, is that right? Let's just double check that. We'll click on that and see if that is between those two. No, that's 106. So 96 and 106. So I want, 95 and 105. So I'm right. So I'm going to go one less. So I'm going to go 97 and 105. And you can see there, that's between 4. So that's from 96 heads to 104 heads. And that's 47. So it's somewhere between 40. So no, this is 47.5. And what did the question ask? It asked for such that it's more than 50%. So more than 50. So I can't be under So I'm just going to go back and change that to 96 and 106. And that's the smallest integer that will give me 50% or more. And it gives me 56%. And what was that answer? Well, that was from 100 minus 5 to 100 plus 5, which is my answer, which is 90, 95 to 105. So that's a probability of at least, so probability from 95 to 105. And I'm just going to do it again, and I'm just going to go equals. I'm going to copy that. Oh no, don't do that. I want sum B. I'm just going to steal that because I can just edit it. And what was it? 96 to 106. And there it is. So there, those questions answered. Now remember, I've been doing it for 100 bits of data. You've been doing it. Well, you should do it. Sorry, I've been doing it for 200. You should be doing it for 100. Now, if I change the probability, all right, and I go to 0.1. Now, I'm not going to do this because I want you to experiment. So I'm going to change this probability to 0.3. Now, and it says, what could this be doing? So if I did, actually, I'll do equals 1 divided by 6. That's really easy. And it's asking me, well, what could this be mirroring the probability of? Well, this could be the probability of getting a 6 when rolling a dice. Probability of 6 when rolling a dice. Die. Right? Now, remember from our working binomial distributions that if I get a point, a number less than 5, I get a positive skew. And if I get a number bigger than 5, I get a negative skew. And if I get exactly 50%, remember my binomial theorem is 50%, I should get a symmetrical or normal distribution. But there's an example of, something. Now remember, you've got 0.1. So you have to think of something that's going to have a 10% chance of happening. Now you could make up something like, 10% chance of rain over 100 days, or you could make rolling a 10-sided die, or you could pick something like that. But it has to be reasonable when you write it in. So I'm going to put this back now. So that's a probability of a head. That's my success. And I want that to be 0.5. And that's when tossing a coin. Now it says it wants me to draw a histogram. So if I go over here, it says change of what is a binder. So we've done that. Comment on the shape. I had to draw a histogram here. I didn't do it. And if I go in here, this is so easy. I'm just going to do A and B, and you don't have to select it all. You can just go click there and shift, click down here. It selects it all. Insert a chart. Hopefully it'll choose the right one. It's thinking about it. And it didn't choose the right one. It chose a line chart. So I just want to move that over to here. And none of my axes are labeled or anything like that. So first of all, I'm going to get column chart. And there you can see it's not really that good. But if I go into customize and I go into chart styles, I can get the axes and title. So I can call this, what's the chart title? I'm going to call this binomial distribution for tossing a coin 200 times and getting heads. So there's that. Now, I don't want the chart title, I want to label the axes. So the horizontal axes, that's the number of heads. Okay, there they are. And now I want the vertical axes. So let me get any vertical axes. And there I want probability. And then I'm going to get rid of that. And I want this to be bigger. And even then it's not big enough because it goes up in twos. Maybe I could change the scale, but if I make it bigger, it'll just change the scale, I would imagine. So has it gone to ones yet? No, now it's gone to odd numbers, so I'm going to try and even make it bigger than that. Now it's going up by twos, must be going up by fours. I'm nearly there. That'll do. There's my graph. And if I make this smaller, you'll be able to see it. And there. Now what is it? And then it says, what does that look like? Well, come on, you should know what that looks like. You're going to have to write that in. That's a question you're going to answer. And then it goes on to say, try these different ones. Now they've got 1, 4, 5, 7, and 0.95. I'm going to do a small one, and then I'm going to do a large one, and you can see what happens, but you have to comment on the type of spread for each of these. And you can just take a screenshot of that if you wish. So I'll make this bigger now. And I'll go up here, and let's change this to 0. So something, what I did 0.3. And let's go down. All we want to do is watch what happens to the curve. Now, I know it's hard to see, but all of a sudden, it's been pushed to the left. Yeah? It's been pushed to the left. All right? Because the chance of this happening is way down there. So now, let's try and make this another number. Let's go 0.7. Oh, no, you haven't got 0.9, you have 0.9. And watch what happens to the data, and look where it's all gone. And you're going to have to talk on what sort of skewness that is. So that's pretty easy. You should be able to do that now. The instructions are pretty clear, except for that A0 there. And when you do these and you comment on each of those, you can write it in by hand. You can write a little underneath here, so you can go when P equals 0.2, well, what do you reckon? I'm not going to write. You could say the graph is, and I'm going to leave you to write what you need to in there. All right? And then you just go when P, and you can do it all on the spreadsheet. If you do all that, you can do it all on the spreadsheet. You don't have to do it by hand. And then you send me a copy of the spreadsheet. So you can see all the answers are in here. Now, you can see my probabilities for the 50% has changed. Oh, gee, I can't even spell graph. I better fix that up. So I'm going to go back and change that to 0.5. And then all my data's right. And you can go and do them all. So good luck with that.